Larry Sharpe is a political commentator and broadcaster, and he has some interesting insights into all of this. He joins us now. Larry Sharpe, thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to have you back.
I am so happy to be here. Happy New Year. We haven't seen each other in a while, so it's very happy to be back here. I'm very happy.
It's been a while and so much has changed since the last time that we spoke.
Yes.
We've seen these confirmation hearings going on in this past week,
Right.
and it's been ludicrous to watch. Talk to us about, from your perspective, how you've seen this go down.
Well, I talked about this a while ago when I first started to hear about this happening, as I mentioned that the Democrats are actually going to be happy about this. And people said, wait a minute, why would they be happy about this? This is where they can grandstand, right? Grandstanding for them is very good. It shows like they're fighting the Trump or whatever, like they're doing that when they're not. But that's what it shows that they are, and they can raise money off this. Believe it or not, a lot of those senators who were yelling and screaming at Bobby Kennedy Jr. are going to take chunks of that, and they're then going to put that on some kind of commercial, and they're going to raise money for that. So that's a critical aspect. When it comes to the Democrats, it's good for them to do that. They'll raise money off this. Most of them know that these people are going to go through, right? Why would you yell and scream? Why would you be so aggressive? To your point, why would you fight so hard when you know you're probably going to, lose anyway? Well, because I can raise money off this, and that's a critical aspect. But another point, the people who are scared of this, the interests that are the lobbyists who are scared of this, they pay good money for these fighters. So they want their fighters to fight, right? Yeah, so you better do your job. I'm paying you, do your job. And they know that too. So there are many reasons why they have to fight. But the last piece, which is why you even see some Republicans fighting this too, and that is those who are more establishment, right? Even though Trump has a mandate, I think we all get that he does, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden the swamp goes away or that the establishment goes away. It still exists. And where does it exist most? It exists mostly in the Senate. The Senate is the swampiest of all of them. Why? They are the older ones. And when I mean older, meaning they've been around longest and also age, but they've been around longest. They're the wealthiest. They get the most money. But more importantly, most people don't get this. They say, well, wait a minute, Larry, they have to be afraid of Trump. Well, if you're a senator who just got elected last year, you've got 6 years before you get elected again. You're not really afraid of Trump, if that makes any sense. I mean, you still want stuff to get done. You still want to get your money. But you're not as afraid. So you want to have some pushback. And you also want to have pushback because if you just roll over, it tells Trump that he's just won. And they still want. Look, there's still a back and forth. Trump is going to everybody, right? There are still going to be some swamp people in his cabinet. I hate to say that, but I'm being realistic. There is going to be a back and forth. While Trump has a mandate and I believe wants to change things, he's still a human. And this is a system that's been corrupt for decades. It's going to take time to clear it out. It's not 5 minutes. So he has to have that negotiation back and forth, which is why a lot of people who are being scared about, oh my God, look at how tough it is for Tulsi Gabbard, look how tough it is for RFK Jr., look how tough. While the establishment does want to push back, that's true. They don't want to stop everything, because if they stop everything that Trump wants to do, they lose the mandate too. Right? Trump is the reason for the mandate. Yet, while you might be mad at this upstart is not one of us, I understand that, but you can't get rid of him because without him, there's no mandate. Right. So at the worst, they'll stop one of them to kind of show they still have some power. At worst, the odds are they're all going to get through. For Republicans, it's like showing they still exist. For the swamp Republicans, it's showing we still exist. For the Democrats, it's please stop. Don't stop giving us money. We'll keep fighting, right? We'll keep fighting. Please keep giving us money. And then for the rest, it's like, okay, great. Now we got a mandate. Let's get going.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Larry, looking at it from all angles. And in terms of the money, we've just looked at some of the clear conflicts of interest that some of these people have when it comes to big pharma handouts.
Yes.
And the figures are truly astronomical. And the most unbelievable thing to me is, okay, Elizabeth Warren says RFK Jr. is potentially going to bankrupt Big Pharma. We're terrified of that.
Oh my God.
If
what
Big
a horrible
Pharma,
thing.
well, yeah, what a horrible thing. If Big Pharma had nothing to be bankrupted over, if you took them to court and they'd done nothing wrong, there's no threat of bankruptcy of Big Pharma, for goodness sake.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on how RFK responded to that?
Well, the first thing is I want to acknowledge all of the people who are right now out in the streets protesting because they love Big Pharma. Oh, wait, there's none of them. That's right. There's none of them. It doesn't exist.
Right.
No one's going, oh, poor big pharma executives. Nobody's doing that, right? So that's the first piece. But the second piece is they have to act like they're the ones protecting. Remember this important piece. People like Elizabeth Warren, people like Bernie Sanders, sadly, and again, sadly for Bernie, because Bernie should not have done what he did. Bernie should have been one of the people who, because Bernie actually said, I agree with what you're saying. He said that, right? The problem is they have had no solution for decades. So of course they have to attack him. Otherwise, what they're saying is, yeah, we're pretty much ineffective and we don't, yeah. All these problems you spoke about, yeah, it's kind of our fault and we've done nothing about it. And that's the reality. The reality of the system you have now is so broken, right? Oh, Bernie will yell, Medicare for all. Medicare for all doesn't take away my problems that I already have. Medicare for all doesn't fix the problems that our children already have. It now treats problems that keep happening.
Right.
RFK Jr. is trying to stop the problems, right? Let's stop the problems. And the idea that you would say, please don't take any money from lawsuits. Aren't they all insider trading right now?
Right.
When I'm waiting for that law that stops insider trading. Oh, it doesn't exist. Another thing that does not exist, right? They could just stop insider trading, right? Not just that. Bernie bought his third house already. Bernie, you going to give him the houses back? What's going on here, right? How are you doing this, right? And you're right, it is so hypocritical, but they've taken an idea that says, you are bad, therefore I must dismiss you. So what you say doesn't matter because I've dismissed you. You're a kook or you're a conservative or put the word there, right? You support Trump, whatever. And if you remember, RFK Jr. said it. He said we're in a world now where just because Trump says it or thinks it, it must be lampooned and ridiculed. It doesn't matter if it's right. Trump said it. Therefore, that's the trust the science. The science says Trump said it, therefore it's not valid. So they can just dismiss it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter if they're hypocritical. The idea is Trump said it, therefore it's wrong. RFK Jr. brought this up, and he's trying to tell them, look, yes, I'm going to get paid from crushing pharma. Why? I've been doing it for 40 years. Why would I stop now? And they go, you don't know about this system. I've been suing it for 40 years and winning. I've been paying my bills off of suing these people. I kind of know what I'm doing. These people have been taking money from them and doing the bidding. And my answer to them would be the same thing. What is your answer? And they don't have one. Now, you might say to yourself, wait a minute, Larry, the Democrats got their butt kicked last year. So they're going to change their minds and shift. Well, if that would be true, I'll ask you the other question. How many Democratic leaders from last year have lost their jobs and changed? None.
Right.
One swapped out because he retired. That's it. Otherwise, all the Democratic leadership was reelected last year. They're all getting paid. They lost the election horribly and have not changed a thing. They're as long as they're getting paid, and that's all they care about. And the reason why they got so mad is RFK Jr., he's messing with their money, right? And when you start messing with their money, now they're mad. And to your point, your entire idea, what you just mentioned in your last segment about all the money that's coming in, that's their money. You're messing with their money now. Of course they're gonna be angry.
Messing with their paycheck. And even if you put that aside, okay, let's just say that they're not doing this because of the clear conflict of interest that you can see from 17 countries away, right? But let's just say they are genuinely interested in continuing the social justice cause.
They care.
They care, right? Well, if that was the case, then you would think that we have a system that's incredibly broken, that needs a complete overhaul, that someone who is able for the first time to present the public with facts, and I don't think he's perfect, I don't think any of them are, but someone who's coming in with a totally different approach and saying, you know, let's be radically transparent. Let's inform the public. Let's help them make informed
100%.
decisions, and let's make people healthier. As you said, you know, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. We have these systems, but how about we make people healthier so that they don't have to depend so much on the government?
Yes.
And for some reason they have a problem with that. Why? Because they love the dependence that people have on them. It keeps them in a job.
100%.
And it keeps them getting the paycheck from the people they're lobbying for. Please go on.
No, that you gave me so much good stuff. I don't know where to start. I love this. So I wanna can I go a little bit off topic when it comes to this, because what Trump did when he froze everything. Can I touch that for a moment?
Sure.
What that actually did for anybody who was actually paying attention, when Trump froze the federal payments, it showed the country that the states can't function without the federal government. And that's one of the saddest parts, right? About 1/3 of all these state budgets, average, depending upon which state you go to, is somehow the federal government. We had people, the Secretary of State from, not Secretary of State, I'm sorry, Attorney General from Rhode Island or Connecticut actually said, we send our money to Washington and then we expect the money to come back so we can, feed our children, pave our roads. You can't pave your roads without the federal government? Like, you can't feed your kids without the federal government? That shows how much, and exactly to your point, Maria, which I love what you said, that it showed that our states are so dependent. Why? Okay, I'm going to give my age away. People don't know this. Department of Education started in 1980. I went to school before there was Department of Education. Somehow I can read and write. Somehow I can survive. Somehow America went to the moon, or did we? Anyway, America went to the moon before 1980. We won World War II before 1980. Somehow we did all these things about the federal government deciding what we learn and how we're indoctrinated. I mean, how we're taught. How we're taught, the federal government didn't decide that, right? Somehow that didn't happen and we survived. But now we're at a point where we can't imagine anything else, right? Income tax, 1913. So for 150 years, somehow we fought the Civil War, we fought wars, we built roads, we built railroads, we did all types of things without an income tax. The federal government didn't have to tell us every aspect. Now it affects Head Start. I can't put my kids in school with the federal government. That's the amount of power they have, Maria. And if you had that amount of power over 50 states, over 300 and some odd million Americans and non-Americans, a lot of people here, right? Whatever that number is. Why would you give that up? Why would you give that up? And this was the perfect example. I hope that in the long run we see that. Why would you give that power up? You control every aspect of American lives, not through actual law, but through money.
That's such
They
a
actually
great
announced it. And that's the piece that people aren't getting, right? Our budget is about 6.8 trillion. We make about 4.9 trillion. So we're 1.9 in debt every year. And we only bring in 3.9, and 3 trillion of that out of 4.9 goes to Washington and back. Why? Why wouldn't you just keep in the states? It's control. And that's the issue. It's a lot of power here, Maria. It's money, it's power, it's control. Of course they're going to fight.
I think there's also an element of being resistant to change. There are some people
Yes.
that are quite far left that I have listened to, and I agree with some of the things that their takes or things that they believe in or things they want to
Sure.
defend, from a moral perspective, let's say, or I can see where some of these things would actually be good to continue defending. You understand my point.
Yes, absolutely.
But
if you listen to Bernie Sanders, when he talks about a problem, he's often right. Like, oh, yes, the problem is correct. My issue is his solution. But
Right.
he's very often right in the problem.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is my point. I've found myself even a couple of times AOC said something, and I think, for
Yes.
the most part, she's pretty loony. But a couple of times I've said, okay, well, she has a point there. I think that it's really interesting, Larry, and I was just discussing this recently. What President Trump is doing. Pete Hegseth came out with a statement regarding the helicopter crash, and the last time I saw that video, it had over 500,000 views. I'm sure it has more now. And he was giving the public information. Now, whether we have all the answers around that or not, I don't believe so. Nonetheless, we are seeing a level of transparency that hasn't existed before. Now, we can keep pushing that ceiling for more transparency. That's on us. But we're seeing the conversation open to a point where I think even the far, far left will be able to challenge power in a better environment. They'll be able to come to some sort of agreement with the far, far right, let's say. And I really don't love those paradigms, but for the purpose of this conversation, we'll use them. The environment that's being created is one where people can actually talk and not hate each other, and not, just like the White House this week. asked Hakeem Jeffries to apologize for his statement about fighting in the streets. It wasn't an attack on him. It was, will you please apologize? This isn't the way we want America to be anymore. So the environment is more conducive towards open discussion. And I think that what we're seeing from some of these people who sometimes make sense, may not necessarily have conflict of interest. They may, I don't know. Some of them, they're just very resistant to change. Do you think that's playing a big part?
Yes. Look, the most important piece here is we are becoming more transparent. You see it even with someone like Kash Patel as an example, right? Kash Patel is obviously former law enforcement, and he's hammering aspects of law enforcement. So he's saying there is a problem. And look, if you want to fix a problem, you got to first acknowledge you got a problem, right? So you got to say, I have a problem. Let's now look at fixing it. It doesn't mean you're going to trash everything. I mean, you might need to, depends on the situation. But you got to accept that I have a problem first. You got to talk about it first, right? I always say this. When anyone has any kind of problem, whether it's a physical problem, a medical problem, mental, financial, whatever it might be, the first thing they need is not a plan, is not a program. It's somebody who cares. That's the first step. Now, okay, someone cares. How do we fix it? Whatever is your issue that you need help with, right? Government's the same. You got to get people who don't want to come in and just do the work, as you hear all the time, or just come in and get a paycheck, right? As you hear all the time. No. I want to make things better. I care. You got people like Tulsi Gabbard, who cares. You got people like RFK Jr., who cares. I mean, RFK Jr. made them make America healthy again. Come on. The guy clearly cares. He wants to fix things. Even to your point, even if he's wrong, if he's going to be transparent, we'll see that he's wrong. Right? That's the most important piece. I gotta give it to Trump for being far more transparent. And again, this is something that people did not want to hear. They did not want to hear it. And it's out, and they're like, oh my God, I do want to hear this. Oh, keep going. I'll ask, this is something that's clearly radical right now. Is the country going nuts over it? It isn't. Mainstream media is, because they're establishment. Right. Establishment Republicans are really squirming. They don't like it. And establishment Democrats, oh my God, they don't like it. Right? So they're upset also. But here's the funniest part. There's a bunch of Democrats who actually don't care either way. They just want to fight because they have to. Right? That's kind of what they have to do. And the worst part is, why weren't they fighting years ago to fix this problem? Right? As I mentioned before, the one I'm most disappointed in is, believe it or not, Bernie Sanders. He's the one I'm disappointed the most in. This guy was hooping and hollering and yelling and screaming for years, saying there was a problem.
Right.
And he was right. Right. He was right. There's a problem. And then when the Democratic establishment crushed him in 2016, he went, okay, I'll shut up.
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop.
Yes.
Okay, I'll be quiet. Why did he do that? The reason why Trump is president right now, over any other reason, is he doesn't stop. You can add a bunch of reasons, but the number one is that he doesn't stop. People said, why did the Democrats sue him? Why did the Democrats, go after him? Because the vast majority of people quit. That's the reason why. The tactics the Democrats use usually work. That's why they use them.
Of course.
Usually they work. But he would not stop. And if Bernie didn't stop, he might be in a better spot. The second person who didn't stop was RFK Jr. That's why he still has a spot here and isn't sitting on the sidelines like some of the Democrats who decided to, once they got beat up, stopped.
Such a great point.
Yes, he kept going. Tenacity in this world works. Trump is an example of that, and so is RFK Jr. You keep going and you can make some change. Again, you're right. RFK Jr. is not perfect. Clearly, he's not. But we know the system's broken. Bernie Sanders has been yelling at us about that for decades, right? So we know it's broken. Someone's going to fix it. Someone's got to do something. RFK Jr. is the guy.
Yeah, let's give them a shot. They're acknowledging the problem. They clearly care. Let's give them a shot, yes, and let's hold them to account. That's all that the people really want. And you're so right, Larry. The country's not in a freak out. The country is wanting the change and wanting to see where it goes. And at the end of the day, what the people want matters more than what some of these, people with clear conflicts of interest want. Larry Sharpe, you can follow him on X at Larry Sharpe. Please tell people where else they can find your work, Larry.
Absolutely. You can just Google Larry Sharpe. I'm lucky I'm the most popular Larry Sharpe in the country. There aren't that many of us. So that's a good thing. But also on YouTube, X, of course, Facebook, all the things, Google Larry Sharpe, you will find me there.
Amazing. Really appreciate your time and your take, Larry. I'm sure there'll be more to talk about in the weeks to come. You take care.
I hope so. Bye-bye.